trying to get more work, like building your personal brand is the way to go. Adobe actually reached out. Like,
dang.
Normally brands will reach out and they'll ask for my rate on like, oh, what do you do like for your reels or whatever. With them, they gave me a rate, and that rate was like 10 times more.
And then you said, that's my new rate.
I said, I said, yes, Lord.
Yeah, come on now.
I suggest you do this. I just put a video out there saying what I was going to do before I even knew how I was going to do it. I just literally said, hey, tomorrow I'm posting 30 days straight about 30 different fonts.
Ooh.
Like I didn't even have.
Oh, it wasn't pre-planned. It was
I
just
did not
like,
even plan it out. I just jumped in the water.
You got serious about your own content, your own creativity. In 8 months, 10 to 100.
10 to 100. God, this is all you, because I would have never guessed that this would have happened.
Welcome to the Faith Hustle podcast, where we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and careers God's way. My name is Makwenda. I'm your host. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years, and in that time, I have been mentored and guided by some of the most successful entrepreneurs that were not just incredibly fruitful and successful in their businesses, but in their families and in their walks with God. And in every area of their life, they had this holistic success about them, and they impacted the kingdom of God. And that's what we are striving for here at Faithustle. We teach on 5 pillars. We say this all the time, 5 pillars here at Faithustle. We teach on stewardship, being spirit-led, integrity, humility, and generosity. Those are 5 things that we believe makes up someone that has a faith hustle. If that describes you, that describes something that you are also chasing after pursuing, we want to encourage you to jump on the journey with us and subscribe. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, tap in with us, and we're growing together. We're going somewhere together to see something unique happen amongst this entrepreneur community of people who are making it on earth as it is in heaven through their businesses. So glad that you're on this journey with us. And if you have been listening or watching for a while, would you leave us a review? It takes 2 seconds and it makes a huge difference for the podcast, helps it to get out to more people. We really appreciate the support, all the different things that are going on. We got a lot of exciting updates to come. But on today's episode, I got a brother that didn't drive in, he flew in. He's our first guest to fly in just for this podcast, all the way from San Antonio, Texas. He's been a newer brother to me, has been a blessing to me. We literally get on a Zoom call almost every other week to just, to keep each other accountable, to encourage one another. He is crushing it online. In the IG space, in the design space. You're going to love the conversation today. We got a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. He's fresh off the plane. It's going to be amazing. I got my brother, Derek Ortiz, is in the building.
Bro, I'm on Faith Hustle.
You on Faith Hustle, in the Faith Hustle studio.
I got a little jet lag, but yeah. I'm just kidding.
It was a 40-minute flight.
From that 40-minute flight, I got a little jet lag.
Well, it's Spirit Airlines. That's what calls it jet lag.
Shout out Spirit.
No, I'm not shouting out Spirit.
No, okay.
No, they will not be
Shout
a sponsor.
out to Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit,
hey.
yes. But Delta, if Delta wants to sponsor this,
come on, sponsor
go
Faith
for
Hustle.
it. Go for it. Come on now. Man, so glad you're here, bro.
Dude, I can't believe I'm here.
You are here. We've been talking about it for a minute. And from the moment we met, and so obviously we'll kind of explain how we met.
Yeah.
But man, I've admired you. I had been following you for a minute. I don't even know how. It was probably one of your reels of like.
For real?
Yeah, for real. For real. One of your reels. It was probably one of the fonts that you were recommending.
Probably.
And he's just got such a creative eye. Was doing. I'm an aesthetics guy. I can't lie. I love something that is well shot, looks good, and his Instagram is just like eye candy to the eye as far as like. But he's giving a lot of value to creatives in that community, and this is a soft plug. We are going to a conference. This should be out before that conference. It's called SALT.
It is.
And it's for church creatives, church, Christian content creators. And it's in October here in Dallas. I believe it's going to be in Irving Bible Church.
Yep.
And I'll put a link to below if you want to go and grab a ticket.
Come see us.
Come see us, man.
Yeah, we'll be there.
A bunch of us are going to be there. It's going to be fun. But we were putting this kind of creators kind of hub of different folks coming together. Funny enough, I had the least amount of followers out of anybody. Legit.
Really?
Everybody else has like 100,000, 200,000. I'm over here 4.
Oh no, bro.
But hey, listen. But I'm big in the kingdom. I'm big in God's eyes. You know.
Amen.
No. But I was incredibly humbled and honored. But we're in this group.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing amazing things. And you know when you just find someone that's like, y'all just cut from the same cloth. That's how it was with us.
Yeah, it was real natural.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just like, and we knew a bunch of people, and it was just so we're like, man, we need to jump on a Zoom call.
We're in the same state. How
same
crazy?
state.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And honestly, San Antonio is one of my favorite cities in Texas.
Come on.
I visited once with my dad in November, and man, the river walk
changed you,
dude. It changed I was like, am I in Italy?
Oh, hello.
I was like, this is amazing.
The Italy of Texas,
dude. It's so good, man. And I was, we got on a Zoom call just to connect, and then from there it was like let's do it again, and let's do it again.
Yeah, dude.
And then like, hey, how can we collab on stuff? And so now we're collabing on stuff, and so it's been fun, man.
Bro, it's been such a natural connection. I think just the way it happened, and then us getting on a Zoom call, like, bro, I'm honored and excited that I'm here. But beyond that, just our friendship. From when it started to now, like, it's been incredible. It's been a blessing to me. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see like where this podcast is going to go and where our friendship's going to go. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, if you're in the Dallas area and you can make it out to Salt, we'll be there. It's going to be awesome. And a bunch of other really awesome creatives will be there.
Amazing folks are going to be there. And even just getting to meet the people who are behind it.
Oh man,
really
their
pure
hearts
intentions.
behind it and the vision behind the whole conference, like, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's not just somewhere where you're gonna go there and they're gonna pitch you something else. It's more of a community that they're building, and so, which I really love.
And it's super practical from what it seems. It's like you're gonna go in there, really learn some stuff. So.
Yeah, they have a lot of workshops, a lot of breakout sessions. So shout out to Salt.
Shout out.
But dude, for people who have never heard of you, if you are if you're a church creative, at this point, you probably have heard of Derek, but for those who haven't, if you're a creative or even wanting to build a personal brand, this pod's going to be for you.
Yeah.
Kind of give them a little snapshot of your life. You're a designer, incredible designer. How'd you get in it? What would you describe when someone says, "Hey, what do you do?" What do you kind of tell them? Have you been listening to this podcast and thinking to yourself, "Man, I want to start a faith podcast too"? Well, guess what? You can. It's never been easier than ever to start a show and to get it out to the masses to make an impact for God's kingdom. But it's also never been harder. 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3, not because there's a lack of good ideas. There is a lack of good foundation of what makes a great show. Making a great show is actually an art. It's actually a skill. But good news is, it's a skill that you can learn. That's why I put together a free resource for you that explains the 5 things every podcast needs to make it a great show. It's a quick read, but it will be the difference of your podcast going the distance and making an impact. Now more than ever, do we need more faith-based podcasts that enter into the space to be a light into the darkness. And I believe this resource can be your first step. All you got to do is hit the link in the description below, and I'll send it to you for free. Now let's get back to the episode.
Man, I say I am a content creator and designer. I think I dabble in a little bit of everything. I don't know if there's people out there that can relate, but I get bored real easy when I try stuff. And so I just love to just go through the process of learning stuff. You know, like I funny enough, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who's in the same place where she's like, I love design and architecture and writing. Like, how do I create a brand around that? And I'm like, that's literally the brand right there. Like, you're a curious person. Build your brand around being curious. Like, you just trying new things. It's going to relate to so many people, right? And I feel like in today's world, it's not uncommon for somebody to know a little bit of everything when it comes to creativity. Whereas maybe a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, I only did photography or I only did videography or whatever. now in this content creator world where you're just like having to do it all, you're learning everything.
Yeah.
You're learning like all of Adobe, not just Photoshop. You're learning
you
it all.
can't just do one thing anymore.
Right? Because you want to put everything out there, so you can't wait to rely on like an editor to send you stuff.
Yeah.
Or right? Like if you're bootstrapping it, you just got to learn. And that's kind of my story is, you know, in high school, I started with music. That's where I originally...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I started with music. I was making beats and producing and stuff like that. I got into it, and through that process, I wanted to release like music videos and albums and stuff like that, but I didn't have the resources to pay somebody to shoot, you know, a music video for me, edit it, make album artwork, all that stuff, headshots.
Right.
And so I'm like, Mom, can I have a camera? Like... We're in Target. Can you hook me up? You know, we didn't have phones like the way we do now. So you had to go buy a camera. Yeah. And so, you know, we had a little like camcorder that she bought, got me a little mic. Like it was just, I feel like we're the most resourceful as creatives when we're in the most lack. Yes. Right? Like when we lack the most, we just become innovative with our ideas. And I love that. It's like you, as somebody who's not going to stop just because they don't have this or that, you just keep going as a creative because you understand, like, I have this vision in my head that I want to see come to life. Right. And so that was me as a young kid. Like, I knew I wanted to put this music out there, reach people with it. And so I learned design through that. I learned how to edit videos, shoot them, how to film myself. And I would vlog and all this stuff. Like, so in the moments where we were, like, when I was doing it, I always questioned God, like, Lord, how come I wasn't like somebody that just did one thing, right? You always hear about those stories of like kids that are like, oh man, I've been playing violin since I was like one or two, you know? And then they're like this prodigy. Yeah. I'm like, God, why didn't you make me like that, right? Like just with one talent, right? Why do I have to have 5, God, you know? Yeah. But then looking back on it now, I'm like, Lord, thank you so much that you've allowed me to be so curious with my creativity to be able to want to learn multiple things and get good at them to where I'm able to like not have to rely on anybody. I can produce content when I want. And so it's gotten me to this point where I'm just like creating stuff that I love. And I love that you like mentioned the aesthetic of it because that's intentional, right? Yeah. And when I say it's that my man would be at a coffee shop and making like cinema films, like of just different stuff happen. I'm like, this is brilliant. Like how does this? I'll say that I am creative, obviously. Like you know, there are, but I wouldn't call myself like. I never called myself a creative because I'm like, I'll see other people. I'm like, oh, no. That's a creative because I don't know how they came up with that in their brain. That is different. You know what I mean? And so I that's what I think of you. Like when I see your stuff, I'm like, this isn't like, oh, you saw what somebody was doing and you were like, oh, I'm going to do that. It's like, this feels fresh. This feels like. So I back you up on that, like that's what I've loved. I appreciate that because that's been my whole goal, right? Like starting the account that I have now, which is funny enough. Originally, it was just an account that I started to repost other designers' work. Really? Right. So it was called Church Fonts in the beginning of it. Oh snap! I didn't know that. The first 3 years of me having that account, all I did was, so there were accounts that were bigger that would repost other designers' work just to shout them out, and I would follow them and we'd get inspired by them and things like that. But my thing was like I loved fonts, and in the church space specifically, like when you create sermon series or social graphics, things like that, in my opinion, the font makes or breaks the design. Yeah. And a lot of these bigger churches that were putting stuff out, I've always wondered, like, what are these fonts? Where are they getting them from? Like, what is this? Because I'm not seeing this on defont.com. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not seeing, like, where is these at? So I just made an account, and originally it was going to be a website. And I remember talking to a mentor of mine who is my boss now, which is awesome. He was like, why don't you just start an Instagram? Like, just find the fonts that these bigger like churches are using, and then just like repost and post what the font is. And so that's what I did. I just literally I started off with church, and then it wasn't enough content, so I would start with church. Then I did like church designers. Gotcha. And so I would take designers' work, and with their permission, I would ask them what the font they're using, or if I can find it myself, and just ask, hey, can I repost it? And that was the beginning of my journey of like just sharing value with people, because I'm like, if I'm looking for this font and want to use it, I'm sure there are other people out there. There's somebody out there. 100%, yeah. So through that journey, I just slowly transitioned into like, actually the beginning of this year, built that account for 3 years, around like 10,000 followers. And then this year I slowly transitioned from like church fonts to my personal brand, because I wanted to expand more of what I was sharing beyond just that. And then, yeah, like this week, actually, I hit 100,000 followers.
Come on, this week.
This week.
I mean, obviously, when you're hearing it, it's not this week, but this week as we are filming.
Yeah, the week that we're filming, which is crazy.
Dude, it's so, yeah, I texted you congratulations and just like, I mean, I think when I got onto your content, you were like, I think in the 80s.
Probably.
Like 80,000, something like that. And just climbing. But like, I actually want to get into that of like, because obviously, like, you know, you work for an incredible business, and it's say the name of it again. Sunday Social. So you guys are doing like what type of work? So
Sunday Social provides graphics for churches across the world. So it's we kind of say like the Netflix of churches for like social media graphics and things like that. So you can pay a certain amount, like $20-$30 a month, and you get access to our Photoshop files. We put out over 100 graphics a month.
Oh, wow.
Sermon series. We call season kits, which are like quarterly branding kits for your church to like look cohesive online and in person. And so we're putting out a bunch of content. But my background is within church. I was on staff at a church for 5 years. So that's where I got to learn about videography, and like that's why things can be cinematic, and I know how to do all that because, you know, during like, you know, us being on lockdown and things like that, we had to produce stuff and create stuff. And so I was the branding director there. And so I oversaw all of that and had a team of people that were creating stuff with me. And so I learned photo, video, design, web, everything. Yeah. And so now, again, coming full circle, now I'm like, thank you, God, that I was able to go through that, because I can create the content I'm creating today.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's giving you the ability to do that. So you did that. And obviously you got your own content, you're doing your personal brand, and you're freelancing. I want you to walk through, because I think it's incredible of the discipline, because you literally went from 10,000 to 100,000 in how many months? 8 months.
8 months.
I'd love to hear one, because I think, you know, again, and we talk about influence a lot here. I do think some people, they seek influence probably for more vanity purposes, but there are business actual like, success stories that come from it of like, hey, like growing your account and building your platform, your personal brand does lead to business. I'd love for you to talk about your journey of like what started that growth, what prompted it, of building your personal brand, and then what's it been doing for your actual business.
Yeah, I think the biggest switch is I actually had like a coach that helped me. I paid for this coach.
Okay.
And I saw his growth online, and he was growing at a crazy rate. And so he had like this thing he was putting out for like a group of people to kind of join. And I was like, you know what, let me take the step of faith and just like, if I'm really serious about this, let me put my money behind it and sow into it. And I learned a lot from that. It was a cohort that I did, like a live cohort. And the biggest thing that I learned was, I feel like the stigma around creatives is like we're very free flowing. The ideas come, like we just start creating and things like that, right? But the biggest lesson I learned in that was you have to create systems around what you're doing. If you don't have a system in place for what you're creating, then it's always going to feel like that. You're always going to feel behind. Like you're always going to feel like you're chasing something. And for me, one thing I always tell people is like, don't wait for inspiration, create it.
Ooh.
You know, like wake up every day and find time, set aside time to just create. Because I think a lot of people, the cycle that they go on is they wait for inspiration. Once they feel inspired, then they go create. But it's quite the opposite that works, is you start creating and then you start to get inspired, which fuels the action. And it's like this spiral of like, you know what, because I just took action, right? Then I start creating stuff and get inspired. And it's this whole loop of events. And I think not enough creatives think in that sense where it's like, I just have to put action. And from that action, I'll start to create things. Like when I get stuck on something, like if I'm designing something, I'll just start designing whatever. Yeah. I know out of that action, something's going to come out. Yeah. It may be really bad at first, but I know at some point it's going to take a turning point where it's going to become good and I'm going to like it. Yeah. But if I just paralyze myself to say, oh, I'm not feeling inspired today, then nothing ever is going to get created. Yeah. And something is better than nothing, right?
100%. And movement creates momentum.
Exactly.
And I know like they recommend writers a lot of times of like, put a time in your calendar, whether it's every day, once a week, you are writing and like you're doing free flow. So you could be talking about dogs or just be like A, B, C, D, you know, whatever. And like, just keep like, don't stop the flow of it. I mean, I feel like there's so many life lessons from that of not just like, I mean, even just in business period of like, so many times it's like, I want to wait for the inspiration before I move rather than like, no, like sometimes like getting your feet going actually like creates the momentum.
100%.
And it's astonishing to me how that, it's funny. I was actually, I was with a group of entrepreneurs recently and we were helping a young company, it's a consulting company, and they're struggling to kind of get some business, and they're like, what should we be doing right now? And they're doing some free work, and they're like, and we start telling them, you should start posting your free work and whatever you're doing and start writing and making blogs, because oddly enough, people who get busy are people who have the perception that they are busy. Not the, you know, like the people who are actually like moving forward and creating movement. But like if you're wanting to get busy and wanting to get work and you're saying all the time, hey, I'm available. I got nothing going on, guys. Hey, you know, hire me. You know, it's like, those are the folks that like find it hard to get work. But like if you have the perception of like, even if you are not getting paid for something, but you make spec work or you just find a church, like let's say you're a designer or a business, you're like, hey, I'll do some graphics for you real quick for free. I'll just whip it up. Like do whatever you can do to build that momentum, because it actually draws more business. 100%. Because people think, oh man, this guy, he's moving and shit. He's probably good because people keep hiring him. Yeah. And so anyways, I didn't want to cut you off, but like I'm learning that principle more and more of how sometimes you literally have to create the momentum.
Just take the step. Just take the step forward. I forget what author said this, but there's a quote that says like, you know, when I'm writing, I wait for inspiration. Luckily, that inspiration happens every morning at 9 a.m. Oh. You know, it's like, it's already built into my schedule.
You set an appointment for inspiration.
100%. Like you just have to put it in place. And so,
and I think that's, sorry, we have to go deeper in that.
Come on.
I think that's so important because especially if you are creative and in whatever field it be, video or, you know, a designer or whatever, whether you're in church creative or you're doing your own thing, you're freelancing. I think, you know, and listen, we all have to know how we work, right? Like for me,
that's key.
The afternoon is where I grind. I'm like, I'm in my flow.
Yep.
And there's certain things like within maybe video production where like, if I'm editing, there's certain things that are like, you know, not as creative that I can just do and not really think about too much, but more of the heavy lifting of the creative work. I find my zone and then I just stick with it. But I have to put it on the calendar. It can't just be like, oh, I'm feeling creative today, I'm going to do it. It's not going to get done.
Right.
And so that's when you're talking about systems, you're saying you're setting an appointment for yourself to find inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah. And even more important, like you said, beyond the system is the discipline to put the system to work.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, you hear like these productivity gurus, all these guys like time block everything and this, whatever. But it's like, okay, time blocking is just not enough. You have to be disciplined enough to say, I've set 2 hours of editing time or whatever, creative time. I'm going to be disciplined to say I'm going to do it because nobody's over your shoulder telling you to create content.
No, not at all.
Right? Like there's nobody. And so at least at first, unless you start to get like brand deals and stuff, but at first, like you just have to be, you have to understand like what you have as far as the value you're going to put out into the world is so important that you have to just be disciplined enough to just put it out there.
Wow.
And so from that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to segment my days. So like I would do like Monday is coming up with ideas. Tuesday, I'm going to script these videos. Wednesdays, I'm going to film them. Thursdays, I'm going to edit them. Right. And have a system. And I built out this thing to where I now have a space and a place where I have all my ideas. And so what I do personally when I'm creating content is I have just a note on my phone and it's called Brain Dump. And literally as I'm walking or I'm maybe having a conversation and we're having coffee or whatever, and I get an idea, I'm just going to pull out my phone, write that idea down and then leave it there.
Brilliant.
The last thing I want is it to sit in my head because I'm taking up space for other ideas to come into my head.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take it out, release it, put it on my phone. And when I'm ready to go ideate stuff and create content, I'm then seeing, okay, was that a good idea in the moment, or is it still a good idea now? And I'm kind of thinking through that process and allowing myself to just be okay with writing some crazy stuff down. But oftentimes those ideas where I just get a spark of inspiration, those lead to like bigger concepts that I can create off of. And yeah, it's been cool, man.
That's okay. So I love that. So you built these systems. I think anybody could even copy and paste that. And build it in of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You started posting content. Was it every day? You did like a challenge or something for yourself.
Yeah. So funny enough, which is crazy, right? So like I said, it was the end of 2023. I was under the username Church Fonts, but I kind of felt like God was just stirring in me, like, hey, like you have more to offer, right? Besides just these like reposts that you're doing. Mm. And so I started off just changing. It was before a logo, just like CF. I just changed it to my face.
Yeah.
It was still under Church Fonts. Lost a couple followers there, right?
Oh, that's terrible.
No, yeah, straight up. Like nobody wants to see me, my mean mug, you know?
That's terrible.
And so I was like, all right, you know what? Like I'm not gonna get caught in the numbers. So then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna change my name. So I changed my name to actually my name, and then I lost even more followers. And I remember like for the first day ever, I had like negative followers, and I had never experienced that since I started the account. And I was like, gosh, like this is not a good feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And so after that kind of happened for a while, I'm like, man, something needs to change, you know? Like maybe I'm not doing something right. And so I had the idea. I had stopped kind of posting about fonts, kind of kept it more general. And I just told myself, like, why not just take it back to what started this and just talk about fonts, but in a different way. So I literally, and I suggest you do this. I just put a video out there saying what I was going to do before I even knew how I was going to do it. I just literally said, hey, tomorrow I'm posting 30 days straight about 30 different fonts. Ooh. Like I didn't even have.
Oh, it wasn't pre-planned. It was just
I did not even plan it out. I just jumped in the water, like straight up, because I knew if I allowed myself to analyze it, I'm gonna get.
You're not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? This is what's stopping me. I get in my head too much.
Wow.
And so I just literally turned the camera on. Didn't care about the lighting. Care about it. I just turned my light on, pressed record, and I said, hey, tomorrow, and you can literally go back and see this video. It's still on my account. Tomorrow, I'm starting a series where I'm just going to post every day. I'm going to take it back to what I did before, and I'm going to post about a new font. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I had no idea where I was going to find these fonts. I'm telling you, I had no game plan, no system.
Dang.
And I just took it day by day.
Wow.
And I had never expected the growth that would come out of it. Like I posted on my story one time, like the goals that I had for this year. And this was me shooting for the moon to get to 50,000 by the end of this year. And
the end of year, your goal was 50.
Yeah. Cause I was like at 10, right? And
that's wild.
I was getting like negative followers. So I'm like, you know what, guy, like, cause think about it. It took me 3 years to get to 10,000.
Wow.
So to get from 10 to 50, like I was like, man, this is kind of a long shot.
And how consistent were you in posting from before? 0 to 10 in those 3 years?
Maybe like 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, kind of consistent, but sparingly a little bit.
But again, you know, it wasn't my content. It was just reposting other people's content.
Right.
And so
but
like
when you got serious about your own content, your own creativity, you started out 30 days and then in 8 months, 10 to 100.
10 to 100. And in that 30 days is where I saw like a crazy amount of growth. I think that 30 days got me to like 60 or 70,000.
Jeez.
And I had like brands reaching out to me to like collaborate with, and it was wild. Like I would have never ever guessed that I would get into a space where like people are reaching out to collaborate, and like these are like brands that I've looked up to, you know, and it was just crazy. I'm like, God, this is all you, because I would have never guessed that this would have happened. And so it's been an incredible journey, and like obviously I've been posting since then, so it's cool to see the audience still there, people still interacting, and I've kind of broadened where I'm, like the topics I talk about. I'm still in like design and creativity, but my heart has always been to encourage creatives. Like
I feel that, yeah.
Being a creative, as vulnerable as it can be, kind of the mindset that it takes to continue. I mean, we all deal with imposter syndrome. That's a huge thing.
Oh yeah. And
then too, like I said, just being disciplined to understand, like, we have to treat this like any other thing that we want to get good at, right? If we went to the gym whenever we felt like it, we wouldn't see much progress.
No, not at all.
Because I never feel like going to the gym.
I feel that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
but you have to. You showing up is the win.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, you just have to show up and just do what you can in that moment. And then do that the next day.
Wow.
And it all just compounds. I'm telling you, like, a lot of people think there's a secret or there's a sauce or whatever, but it's literally, as cliche as it sounds, it is consistency.
Wow. It's funny you say that. And I want to transition to talking on the business side, how it's helped your growth. Ladarius, who was on the show, he said, he had a statement. He said, you have to commit before you start. And for him, he committed every Saturday, like 100 Saturdays. Of posting. It's like, whatever it is, like, you're not even focused. Like, obviously it's good to have a goal of like a number, but like, you're more committed to the discipline of your regimen, because that's going to lead the forward progress, period. And whether it is you becoming a better designer or trying to grow your personal brand, it's funny how I think sometimes we look at people who do go viral, or people who, whatever, hit it big, whatever, and we think it was a flash in the pan moment. Typically, it's discipline when it meets opportunity.
Come on.
And it's like, and part of, if you're a creative, I think some parts that can be tough, because you're wanting the moment, like, oh, this is the thing that's gonna, like, shoot it up. And it's like, well, probably not. Like, songwriters always say, like, you got to make like 1,000 bad songs before you write one good one.
100%.
But we don't want to do that. We don't want to admit when we have 1,000 bad songs. and like, for me with this, like, I know the episodes are going to get better. We're going to edit it better. We're going to add tons more animations. The team's going to expand as the years come. This content that we're doing right now is not the best that it will be. It's the best that it is now. It's not the best that it will be. But if I wait until that moment to start, I won't see any progress. We're not sitting here in this studio, none of it. And so part of it is like, I have to commit before I start. I have to commit to the forward progress of like, hey, give me a year and we're gonna be slaying it.
I've heard somebody say it this way. It's like, right now I'm just working on my bank of bingeable content. It's like, when I do, go viral or whatever, I'm going to have a bank of content that people are going to go just watch.
Oh, he's been doing this for a minute.
100%, right? Because imagine if somebody went viral with their first video and it's like, okay, well, how do I get more of this guy?
It's a lot to keep up with. Like, it's a lot of pressure to, like, someone's like, when you go too big on a first date, then you set the expectation of like every date's going to be like, come on. like 5-star restaurants and all that different stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think part of it is like, and so much of it is your reputation of just showing up, of like how much that is a big deal, of you keeping your word. Like you said, I'm doing it for 30 days. You showed up in 30 days. I tell people in podcasting all the time, like, whatever your regimen is, I typically, you say either weekly or bi-weekly, just show up when you say you're going to show up.
Yeah.
Because the worst is, how can you expect someone to show up for you when you won't consistently show up for them? Of like, yeah, hey, I know I only post once a month or when I feel like it, but please listen. It's like, no, I got a life.
Yeah.
But if you're pulling up on Wednesday at 8 a.m., guess what? I'm gonna pull up with you. You know what I mean? And so I think that's so awesome.
I think too, another thing is like, create content that you're passionate about, because if you're not, you're gonna lead to a place where you're gonna burn yourself out, right? If you're trying to be somebody you're not. And also too, like, I had a moment even before all this when like TikTok was first introduced. Like, I kind of built a following on there, but it was like of content that was not even, my face wasn't even on it. It was just like funny content that I would post, and I got it to like 30,000. But like, am I using that account now? No, like,
right? Because
it's like, it was just stuff that I was just bored and just doing. But now I feel like I've built an audience that like I care about and I want to provide value to. And when you love something enough, it doesn't matter how many people follow you or whatever. You're just gonna keep doing it, right?
Yeah, it is who you are. It's really hard to keep pretending,
right?
But it's really easy to just, hey, if you weren't on Instagram, you'd be talking about design anyways. You'd be doing design anyways.
Like exactly. Like, I love what I do so much that the numbers in the audience are just a byproduct of how much I love it. And I heard somebody say this too. I love quotes.
I'm a quote center over here. I love it.
It's like, the man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination, right?
Ooh.
Because it's like, I love walking so much, I'm not trying to get nowhere. I'm just going to keep walking.
Yeah.
Versus the man that's like, I want to get here. I want to get there. Let me get to this follower count. Let me get this viral hit. It's like, no. I'm going to keep creating content whether I get a viral hit or not. Like, because I just love what I get to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll say this last thing, then we'll pivot.
Yeah.
The one thing that I mean, Faithustle still is in its infancy. Even in its infancy, I get text messages all the time of, man, this is making an impact in my life. You have no idea. And so much of it is like, I think we want so much big virality. If the goal is to impact someone, to make a difference, to use these platforms, to use our gifts to glorify God, you miss all the moments along the way of like, these are real people. Like if your video gets 100, imagine 100 people in this room. This is not a very big room. That's a lot of people.
Oh my
and like,
gosh.
And there's a lot of silent consumers of content where they might not like or comment or share, but they're getting impacted. And I'll get the messages like, man, I'm loving it. I'm like, I'm glad you do. Can you tell me? Like, can you comment? Like, you know, do something for your boy. Like,
come on. Let it get out there more.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Share it with somebody. Yeah. But they'll text me or message me or DM me, and like, you never know who's watching. You don't know. And it's if you are consistent in just showing up, it is amazing how there'll be impact there. Okay, so I want to get into the business side of it now. So what doors has design opened up and you pursuing your personal brand, this growth that you've seen in 8 months? What's that done for you business wise? And yeah, what kind of doors has that opened?
Man, so many doors. The biggest one for me this year, which was the most like shocking, is Adobe actually reached out. Like,
dang,
bro. When I tell you, I mean, I've used Adobe all of my like creative life.
Oh yeah, literally.
Like,
that's where you start.
I mean, everybody's on Adobe, you know, like, you know, I use Photoshop every day. I use Illustrator, Premiere, like, so to have a company like Adobe reach out and one, you know, for me, and I don't know if anybody can relate on this, but like as a creative who's mainly done stuff in church, you know, you get kind of like, you know, recognition from like other people within the church.
Yeah.
But to get recognition outside of the church for me is huge because I'm like, man, I must be doing something right.
Right.
You know, because people in the church are nice. You know, don't get me wrong. Like, they're nice.
They give you the courtesy.
Man. That was good.
Yeah.
But to be recognized by a brand like that, one that I've always used as far as their products, like, it was really cool to just even get that opportunity for them to say, like, we love your content. And there have been other brands like CapCut. We all know CapCut.
Yeah.
They've reached out. Spotify. Like, there has been. It's just
you know, Spotify. You know, just so casually.
Adobe is one that I got to like collaborate. They had like a campaign for their Adobe stock website, and so I got to make some reels for them, and it's just been cool. The process, they were so cool to work with, and it was just really, really just mind blowing for me.
And so, okay, just humor me with this because I can hear someone be like, I hear people talking about this all the time, but like, what does that actually look like? So like, a brand reaches out to you. Is it usually by email?
Yep.
Okay, and so. What's that process like? They're saying, hey, we love your stuff. Are you bringing an amount like, hey, I'll do this? Or they're like, hey, here's what we want to do with you. And then how are you collaborating on the actual creative side? Like, I'm just curious that because I'm sure like people like are probably curious that want to get into it. It's like, oh, what does that actually look like? Like when I get there, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, so I have my email in my like Instagram bio or whatever. Yeah. So like I think that's smart to have a way for them to reach out to you beyond, you know, your DM.
Right.
And so that's how they emailed me. With them specifically, it was different. Normally brands will reach out and they'll ask for my rate on like, oh, what do you do like for your reels or whatever. With them, they gave me a rate and that rate was like 10 times more.
And then you said, that's my new rate.
I said, I said, yes, Lord.
Yeah, come on
I'm
now.
not going to question that.
Come on now.
Straight up. Like,
dang.
I was, again, for one, to have the opportunity to work with Adobe, but then two, for them to like put money behind it like that, I was just like, yes, God.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. I remember like, I'll never forget it, like just showing, because again, I had goals for myself. And I share these with my wife, and I remember sharing with her like, man, a dream like collaboration would be with Adobe. Like you always hear about like these people doing like Adobe partnerships and things like that. And I'll never forget like when I got the email, I thought it was fake. I straight up thought it was fake. I'm like there's
fishing.
No way. Yeah. Like, there's no way this is real. And luckily, I had a buddy of mine that we follow each other on Instagram. He's worked with Adobe before, kind of verified it through him. And he's like, no, dude, this is legit. Like, this is crazy. And I shared it with my wife, and we were just like celebrating. It was just crazy. Like,
what if you would have deleted the emails? Like, oh, man.
Right? Like, spam. This is spam, you know?
That is hilarious.
But it was wild, man. Like, it was crazy. And then to see, like, I put the content out there. They collaborate with it on Instagram. So, like, it's just crazy.
So, were they like, hey, here's the, you know, what we're wanting you to promote. Here's your kind of, did they give you, you know, boundaries or like guidelines and then like, hey, you go for it? Or, you know, was there like approval process? Like how was that?
So they had an approval process all the way through. So the initial thing was like, hey, we want you to create 2 reels. One was specifically about the video side of their Adobe stock stuff, like what you can do with that, and then the second was more on the design side, like the assets you can create with and stuff like that. So they kind of gave me like those 2 things. Are you cool with it? Cool. We'll get the contract written up. We'll sign it. All that good stuff. And then they give timelines on like we want this one between this month and this month. Second one between this month and this month. And then they have deadlines for everything. So, hey, give us a script or give us ideas by this day. So they give them the ideas, green light on that.
Yeah.
Okay, give us a script by this day. And when I say script, they want like, you know, like a shot deck kind of thing where it's like shots I'm thinking for this, wide shot here, medium shot here. Here's what I'm going to say here. Insert B-roll here. Like very detailed.
Gotcha.
And I'm not used to that because I'm just creating content on the fly for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just turn on the camera. It's like, I'll figure it out later.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what B-roll I'm going to go here, but I'm just going to do it, you know? And so it was cool to like think out. It was a lot better for me as far as filming it because I knew exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah. And that's more my world. I come from storyboarding. I love that stuff.
I always hear about like filmmakers and directors in that scene where it's like they know exactly what they're going to capture.
Yeah.
And so I've always wondered how that process would go, but now it makes sense how much easier it is. And yeah, you have you know opportunity to be flexible like in the moment where you get different shots, but it's cool to like envision in your head based off what you've seen. You can kind of storyboard it out. So I did that. They greenlight the script, and then I'll create the first rough of it, and then I send it to them, and they're like, "We love it," or "Change this," or "Do this." They wanted their captions a certain way, so I had to do my captions a certain way, even down to the caption. Hey, what are you gonna put for your caption? Make sure it includes this.
Dang.
Like everything is just green lit.
Because when I'm doing captions, now thankfully I've been in marketing long enough where like I've become good in copywriting, but you know, and I've learned my audience, but like to be able to like no, like I got to think like maybe a month or 2 months ahead of what I want to say. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. And then they post it. I let them know when it's going live, and then they'll collaborate with the video, and then it's just been wild. So like when I actually saw it there on Instagram with in collaboration with Adobe stock, like
that's wild.
It was wild, man. It was so cool, like to be able to just be recognized, one, but then two, like to have creative freedom to like try something, and it was cool because one of the videos I did was like I created, because I had been wanting to do this as an idea already, was like create a poster because we had just moved into a house, and so we had like a blank wall. One of the ideas was like create a poster that I'll design myself as decor, and so I was like, this is perfect. So I used like assets from their website, created a poster design, which is still up to this day. Like people thought it was just for the video, but no, I love the poster.
That's awesome.
And so if you go to my house, you'll see it. And and that was a cool process. Just designing it, printing it, like the whole thing. And you can still again see the videos on my Instagram if you want to go watch those. But
I love that.
It was cool, man.
I love that, man. It's been so cool to see the journey, and I'm sure in so many ways that validate. It's just there's cool mile markers, along the journey. One thing I love to, because you do a lot of other design work, you do book design, you do a bunch of other stuff, and I'm assuming with your building your personal brand that there's been more inbound calls 100%. And leads for that. Yeah.
I what I tell people is if you're trying to get more work, like building your personal brand is the way to go. Yeah. Like, especially in today's age, it would be crazy of you not to focus on building a personal brand, because it helps in all areas. There's so many streams of income you can gain from building your personal brand, because at the end of the day, if you have an audience of people that are looking to you and inspired by you, whatever you put out or whatever lane you go, they're going to want to follow you and support you, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy named Nick Bear. he's in Austin. He started, documenting his journey of building a supplement company.
Oh,
and
BPN. Come on. I had their protein shake this week.
Come on, right? But like,
come on the pod, Nick.
Come on, Nick. We want you. But, he's built this massive following. And now when I go to HEB, I'm not going to pick this other protein powder. I'm going to pick his because I know somehow it's going to go to Nick Bear. It's going to support him.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you know him when you don't know him.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of a personal brand. Like, people want to support you, whether it's to get more client work, whether it's to get brand deals, or you want to launch your own product. Like, building a personal brand, in my opinion, is the best way to go. Yeah. And you can diversify it anyway.
And one thing I want to say here, I and you were encouraging me with this even too, because I think a lot of times, especially small business owners, we can hide behind our business name. Yep. So and there's this whole catch-22 of like, well, I don't want people to only just come for me. I want them to come from, unless you got a stacked team. Let's just say, let's say we're staying in this design field, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you have a design firm, right? Unless you got a stacked team of 5-10 designers and you legit don't want it to be just one person, if you're really a one-man show, own it.
100%.
Like, just own it. Like, they are coming for you. Like, I remember Hormozy said once, like, until you get to like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million revenue, like, you're a personal brand. You're a personal brand. They're coming for, like, I had to like be honest. Like, yes, I have a business name, Spark, but they're hiring me. Yeah. And why not just own it? Put my face on it. Like, don't hide behind graphics that have your logo on it that nobody knows about. Like, just own it and allow people to fall in love with who you are. Yeah. And you gave me that advice, and it really opened my eyes of like, I just have to own my brand and realize like they're coming for me.
100%. Like, I mean, there are a million designers out there, right? People can go to any other designer, but they've seen something in my work or my videos or whatever, and they're like, oh man, I want to go to Derek. Like, he seems like he knows what he's doing. And you had talked about free work earlier in the episode, and I think that's so huge. Like, I think as creatives, we have to understand the value in free work. We may see it as like a disadvantage because we're not making anything in the moment, but I'm telling you, some of the free work clients that I've had have turned into paid clients, and it's all just through you putting yourself out there and like just saying, hey, I got this. I want to make this for you. No risk to you. We'll see where this goes from here. And if it doesn't go anywhere, be okay with that. Yeah. But you have to understand, if you're barely starting out, build your personal brand, and then also give free work out and see where that takes you. And I promise you, you're going to be doing this for a living in no time if you just stick to it.
That's so good. I heard it said once that it's not the best brands that win, it's the best known brands that win. There's probably, I know there are way better products out there for whether it's health or whatever. They're just not known. Exactly. And it's like, in whatever industry you're in, especially if you're in creative, it's like you might be like, man, I can make better work with them. All right, show us. Right. like put yourself out there. Like, if you want to win in this space that we are in 2024, you have to put yourself out there. You just have to. And so I want to ask one last question here. This has been one of the main ones I wanted to kind of get to, and just kind of free flow in. I would love to see, because I believe you're part of like a group and a mindset of folks that are like, I think many times, especially within church context and creative sense, we've looked to the world and we're like, all right. And I think this was kind of a thing kind of back in the day of like, a lot of church creative was like, we're taking things that are in a world, whether it's movies or whether what's happening, and then we're adapting it to our church context. But I feel like I'm seeing a movement of folks who are like, we're actually going to lead the charge forward and the world's going to follow. Come on. And I'd love to get your take on where you see, especially like Christian creatives, content, because I know you live and breathe that. You're starting to do some coaching around that. We'll put all that in the description of to hire him as a coach, as a creative coach. But from your perspective, where is church creatives, Christian creatives, where is it going? Where does it need to be that we're not just like following trends and being behind, we're actually going ahead?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're, like you said, I think we're in a wave of like, for the longest time, we've seen what these big brands do, and we're like, oh, let's just like somehow remix it and fit it into our mold. But I feel like there's a wave of creativity where it's going to be the opposite, where these big brands are going to start looking at the church and being like, how are you guys doing that?
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? And I think that the way that happens is you have to be okay, one, with taking risks. I think obviously, if your leadership allows it, I've had conversations recently with people that are like, man, I want to go this direction, but I don't know how to go in that direction because I feel like my leadership is not, we're kind of seeing the eye to eye with it. And I've been there. Trust me, I have been there in places where it's like, I'm trying to take this creative into this direction, but like we're so used to this direction.
Right.
And like, how do you bridge that gap? And what I told that person was like, in this case, it was a sermon series. It's like, hey, just design 2 sermon series. One that's more than direction of like where y'all been.
Yep.
2 is like where you want it to go, and like pitch why you think it should go this way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least you tried. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Don't stop trying. Like, keep pushing the ball forward. And then leaders, like, believe in the next generation to understand, like, they have fresh ideas. Like, they have new ideas that this place is going to go. And I think, when I was looking up to people, designers specifically in this Christian space, a lot of it was like in this place where it felt cool in the moment, but now I feel like there's this new age of like creativity, and I think it's important for us to understand, like, we can never get complacent to where we were. We have to just keep looking forward.
That's good.
And just try new things. Don't be afraid. Don't overthink. Just try new stuff. Look to other creatives. What I always tell people too is like, look to other creatives in other industries. Like, don't just stay within your own bubble and like just do what this other church is doing or whatever industry you're in. Like, look to other things. Get inspiration. There's inspiration everywhere. And I think that's what's helped me stand out as a designer, especially in the Christian space, in the church space, is I wasn't doing what the next designer was doing. Every designer was just sharing their work. If you go on my page, you probably will rarely see my work on there, but people know I'm a designer, And so I'm not just sharing my work and like, here, I'm trying to provide value to people. Like, here's the fonts I'm using. Here's the color palette. I love encouraging creatives. Like, hey, I know this looks this way, but like, you got this. And you know how many messages I've heard of people telling me like, man, I needed this.
Wow.
And it's like crazy to like think that people needed this. And then, like you said, I'm going in this kind of direction of creative coaching. And I've always like doubted myself. I'm like, man, I'm not good enough to coach people. But God's like, no, you are.
Come on. And
I just, again, same thing. I just say, you know what? I have the ability to do it. Let me just put it out there. And people are like booking me for calls. And it's been crazy to see like, here's the trap that we always get into. It's like we always think because we know it, everybody else knows it.
Yes. We talked about that because I have that trap myself. My thing is what I teach people to do podcasting, in Christian podcasting.
We just assume.
You just assume like, this is easy. Like, this is like, you should, it's like, no.
It's easier for you.
Yeah, exactly. If they could, they would.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I used to do a lot of consulting. I used to consult with financial advisors, and I used to tell them, put your best stuff out there. And be like, no, we can't, man. That's we're going to give our best stuff away. I'm like, truthfully, there's nothing that you do more than likely that you can't Google or YouTube. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody but here's the thing. Just because it's readily available doesn't mean people are executing. 100%. And so it's like, there's still a need for personal trainers. There's still a need for coaches. There's still a need for consultants. Why? Because if information alone was the answer, everybody would be rich, fit, happy, successful. But that's not true. You need accountability. And then wisdom is knowledge applied, and you need someone to guide you in the knowledge that you're getting. It needs to be applied, and it needs to be someone to hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. And it's what we were talking about it. And it was like, no, you can do it. Like you think about where you've come from, and like in an hour or several sessions, how you can help someone not misstep, or what took you 5-10 years to figure out, help them in 5 months to master. Yep. Like, that is value in of itself.
100%. Yeah. And going back to your original question, like, how does a church become more creative? I think it's just that. I think it's understanding like, hey, like, I have what it takes. It's just a matter of me putting it out there, And I think too, like, just do something that nobody's done. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm of the belief like there's nothing original. Everything's a remix from everything else. But like, try to do it in a different way. Like, don't just think, oh, I'm gonna copy what this person's doing and they went viral. I'm gonna go Mr. Beast style and do this editing, so I'm gonna go viral. Like, no. How can I take the principles of what he's doing and like just be my own person? Yeah. And just be okay with like, I'm going to make mistakes along the way. But I think as a church, we have to embrace creativity for one. I think that's a big thing. Yeah. Because I feel like when I was kind of in that world, being on staff and stuff, like it was barely a thing of like, how do we become creative as a church? So I think it's embracing creativity, and then again leaning on the next generation, because they're in it way more than the generation of now, you know. And so it's leaning into them to say like, what do you see for the future? What are you looking at? What's inspiring you? And like asking those questions to then reach the next generation, because that's who we're trying to reach. You know what I mean? Good.
And I think to end on this, I think also it's the company you keep, right? Yep. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, like, you know, David obviously killed Goliath. Later in his life, those who hung around David also killed giants. And it's like, I think there's something to be said of like, you know, if I want to become more creative, I need to be around and put myself in places of people who are farther than me, better than me. And whether I got to pay to do that or I got to, you know, find them, like you have to do, like for me, I'm starting to get myself around people who are making 7-8 figures and on a normal basis. And maybe it's within digital products and stuff that I'm getting into. It has to become normal. Right. And part of it becoming normal is like, there has to be proximity. Yep. And so I think, again, as another plug for SALT, I think that's why you got to go to stuff like that. That's why you have to find whatever creative hubs you can. If you don't have one, start one. Right. You know, and or book Derek for a call.
Well, I was gonna say that, and I'm trying to plug myself.
I'm plugging it. But book him for a call.
I was in that space where I'm like, I don't know, I don't have anybody, right? So then an opportunity came where it was like this coaching thing, and I'm like, you know what? If I have to pay for it, so be it. Yeah. Let me put my money behind it because I need this. And man, that's so true. And to end it, because I know we're kind of still going, but you know, I put a post out like a couple weeks ago. It's like, what you consume is what you'll eventually create. Yeah. You can't expect to input junk and output jewels. I always say that because it's so true. You can't expect to input something and then think that something else is going to come out of you. Of course, what you're inputting into yourself is eventually going to come out. And so I think it's important that what we're listening to, what we're seeing, but also who we're surrounding ourselves with, like who's pushing you forward. I want to just end on a story, but there's a story that I love that kind of ties into this of a guy who's like a runner, and in his hometown where he grew up, he was always the fastest guy, like always the fastest runner, always the fastest guy, and you know, he was breaking records in his hometown, things like that. But he was like, man, I've been the fastest guy for so long. I want to join this other group that's like really, really good. And so he decided to go there, and he went from the fastest guy to the slowest guy. He went from the fastest guy to the slowest guy. And you may see that and be like, well, man, what is that? How did he get better? The thing is, he went from the fastest guy to the slowest guy, but his time got better. So even though he was still in standings the last guy, he was still getting better because he was leveling up. And I feel like as creatives, we need to be in rooms where we're the last guy. Yeah. We're not the smartest dude in the room. We have to humble ourselves to say, hey, I may be the last guy in this room, but I have grown so much and gained so much knowledge compared to where I was the smartest dude in the room.
Absolutely. No, you know? John Maxwell talks about that, where they did studies of, they would put D and C students in rooms of A students, and they always leveled up. They always improved their grades. I actually used to do that. I used to just sign up for AP classes knowing that I probably was not an AP student, but knowing that if I were to stay where I was, I definitely would not rise to the ranks, because I think greatness, you have to put a demand on greatness for it to show up. And so it's like, whatever creativity you want to produce and the things that you feel in your heart to do, you kind of talked about developing systems and disciplines around it. I think the theme I'm getting out of this as we close is like, you have to put a demand on the thing you want to see. It's not just going to magically appear. It's not just going to
magic formula.
It's just, you put a demand on it. Whether it's, hey, I'm showing up Monday, Tuesday, and I'm creating something, or I'm paying for coaching, or I'm putting myself in a group of people who are better than me.
Or I'm listening to podcasts like Faithustle.
Like Faithustle.
No, honestly though,
Yeah.
like the beauty of the information we have in today's age is so crazy.
Oh, it's nuts.
So it's like, dude, YouTube, podcasts, like all these things, find the things that are just gonna get you going, because there's no excuse now.
No, there's zero excuses.
No excuse.
Man, thank you for coming, bro. Dude, this has been awesome. So fun. Again, it's been cool in this process. I always say that I feel like I'm a kid in the candy store. Like I get spoiled because I just get to, hang around friends and hang around people that I care about, and but also like I get to run with folks that are of the same mind, because I'm very particular of who I bring on, because it can't just be the works there or the success is there, but the heart's got to be there. And brother, you got a heart full of gold, and I'm excited. We're gonna hang out this weekend a little bit, and so it's gonna be fun.
Some barbecue.
We're gonna get some good barbecue tomorrow. I'm excited. But dude, thank you for coming, man.
Dude,
thank you for pulling up.
And excited. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Faith Hustle podcast. We hope you were encouraged, inspired, and feel equipped to walk out your faith hustle. If you want to come on this journey with us in growing in our business and faith, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on audio platforms like Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We would love to take this journey with you, and we can't wait to see what God does in your business. We look forward to seeing you soon.